We were a team of paranormal investigators, and we had a mission. We wanted to explore the most haunted house in the country and document our findings. We had heard the stories. People had seen apparitions, heard voices, felt cold spots. Some had even died or gone insane. But we were not afraid. We were curious. We wanted to know the truth. We arrived at the house on a stormy night. It was a huge old mansion with a dark and sinister history. It had been the scene of murders, suicides, and occult rituals. It had been abandoned for decades, and no one dared to enter it, except us. We had our equipment with us: cameras, microphones, EMF detectors, thermometers, EVP recorders. We wanted to capture any evidence of paranormal activity. We wanted to communicate with the spirits. We wanted to prove that they existed. We split up into two groups. One group went upstairs, and the other group stayed downstairs. We agreed to meet up in an hour. We set up our devices and started to explore the rooms. We hoped to find something, anything. We were wrong. We found too much. The group upstairs encountered a dark figure in the attic. It looked like a woman, wearing a long dress and a veil. She turned around and revealed her face. It was covered in blood and maggots. She screamed and lunged at them. They ran for their lives, but the door slammed shut behind them. They were trapped. The group downstairs heard a loud bang from the basement. They decided to check it out. They descended the stairs and saw a pile of bones and skulls. They realized it was a mass grave. They heard a growl and saw a pair of red eyes in the dark. It was a beast, half human, half animal. It charged at them. They tried to escape, but the stairs collapsed under them. They were trapped. We were all trapped in the house of horrors. With no way out, we tried to call for help, but our phones had no signal. We tried to break the windows, but they were too thick. We tried to find each other, but the house was a maze. We tried to stay calm, but we were terrified. We realized that we had made a terrible mistake. We had disturbed something evil, something that wanted us dead, something that had been waiting for us. We heard the voices. They whispered in our ears. They taunted us, mocked us, threatened us. They told us how they died, how they suffered, how they hated us. They told us how we would die, how we would suffer, how they would enjoy it. We saw the ghosts. They appeared in front of us. They looked like us, but twisted, distorted, mutilated. They had wounds, scars, burns. They had weapons, knives, axes, chains. They smiled, wickedly, cruelly. They said they wanted to play. They said they wanted to have fun. They said they wanted to make us suffer. They said they wanted to make us like them. We screamed, we cried, we prayed. We waited for the end. We waited for the horror. We thought we had found the perfect deal. A huge mansion in the countryside with a beautiful garden and a swimming pool. It was on sale for a fraction of its original price because the previous owners had died in a tragic accident. They said it was a gas leak that caused the explosion, but we later learned the truth. It was a murder-suicide. We didn't know that when we bought the house. We were so excited to renovate it and sell it for a profit. We had big plans for the place. We wanted to turn it into a bed and breakfast, or maybe a spa. We thought we could make a fortune out of it. But we soon realized that something was wrong with the house. It started with small things. Strange noises at night, doors slamming, lights flickering. We thought it was just the old wiring or the wind. We tried to ignore it, but then it got worse. We started seeing things. Shadows moving in the corners, faces in the mirrors, blood on the walls. We heard voices whispering, screaming, laughing. We felt cold hands touching us, pushing us, choking us. We realized that the house was haunted by the ghosts of the previous owners. They were angry, vengeful, violent. They wanted us out. They wanted us dead. We tried to escape. We packed our bags and ran to the car, but the car wouldn't start. The keys were gone. The doors were locked. The windows were shattered. We were trapped. We ran back to the house, hoping to find another way out. But the house had changed. The rooms were different. The furniture was gone. The walls were covered with graffiti. It was like a nightmare. We saw them. The ghosts. They were waiting for us. They looked like us, but twisted, distorted, mutilated. They had knives, guns, ropes. They smiled wickedly, cruelly. They said they wanted to play. They said they wanted to have fun. They said they wanted to make us suffer. They said they wanted to make us like them. We were terrified. We had no idea what they were going to do to us. We begged them to leave us alone, to let us go, to spare us. But they didn't listen. They didn't care. They came closer. They grabbed us. They dragged us to the basement. They locked the door behind us. They turned on the gas. We smelled it. We felt it. We knew it was the end. We screamed. We cried. We hugged each other. We waited for the explosion. We waited for the pain. We waited for the death. But it never came. The gas didn't kill us. It didn't even hurt us. It changed us. It made us like them. It made us ghosts. We were stuck in the house, forever. We were angry. We were vengeful. We were violent. We wanted out. We wanted revenge. We wanted company. We waited for the next owners. We waited for the next victims. We waited for the next game. Mia had always wondered about her grandmother, who had died when she was a baby. She had never met her, but she had heard stories about her from her mother. Stories that made her shiver and doubt. Stories that said her grandmother was a witch. She didn't believe in witches, of course. She was a rational, modern woman who had a successful career as a journalist. She had no time for superstitions and myths. She had no interest in her grandmother's legacy. Until she received a letter from a lawyer informing her that she had inherited her grandmother's house, a house she had never seen in a town she had never visited, a house that was worth a fortune, according to the lawyer. She was curious and tempted. She decided to take a break from her hectic life and check out the house. Maybe she could sell it and make some money. Maybe she could learn something about her family history. Maybe she could find out the truth about her grandmother. She packed her bags and drove to the town, following the directions from the lawyer. The town was small and quaint, with a friendly atmosphere. She asked around for the house and got mixed reactions. Some people smiled and gave her directions. Some people frowned and warned her to stay away. Some people looked scared and refused to talk to her. She ignored them and followed the signs to the house. It was a huge old mansion, surrounded by a high fence and a thick forest. It looked abandoned and decrepit, with broken windows and peeling paint. It looked haunted and sinister, with dark shadows and eerie noises. It looked like a witch's house. She felt a chill run down her spine, but she shrugged it off. She was not afraid. She was curious. She parked her car and walked to the gate. It was locked, but she had the key. She opened it and entered the property. She walked to the front door. It was also locked, but she had another key. She opened it and stepped inside the house. She was greeted by a blast of cold air and a musty smell. She looked around and saw a large hall with a grand staircase and a chandelier. The hall was dusty and dirty, with cobwebs and rats. The hall was dark and gloomy, with flickering candles and portraits. The hall was creepy and unwelcoming, with strange symbols and objects. The hall was a witch's hall. She felt another chill run down her spine, but she shrugged it off. She was not afraid. She was curious. She walked to the staircase and climbed it. She wanted to see the rest of the house. She wanted to see her grandmother's room. She wanted to see her grandmother's secrets. She reached the second floor and saw a long corridor with many doors. She tried to open them, but they were all locked. She wondered what was behind them, but she had no keys. She walked to the end of the corridor and saw one door that was slightly ajar. She pushed it open and saw a dark room. She entered the room and saw a bed, a wardrobe, a desk, and a bookshelf. The room was dusty and dirty, with cobwebs and rats. The room was dark and gloomy, with flickering candles and portraits. The room was creepy and unwelcoming, with strange symbols and objects. The room was a witch's room. She felt a surge of fear run through her body, but she shrugged it off. She was not afraid. She was curious. She walked to the bed and saw a pillow, a blanket, and a doll. The pillow was stained and torn. The blanket was ragged and dirty. The doll was old and ugly. She picked up the doll and saw a note pinned to its chest. The note said, "Welcome, my dear granddaughter. I've been waiting for you. I have a gift for you. A gift of magic and power. A gift of blood and fire. A gift of love and hate. A gift of life and death. A gift of you and me. A gift of us. Open the wardrobe and see for yourself. Don't be afraid. Be curious. Be mine." She felt a shock of horror run through her veins, but she shrugged it off. She was not afraid. She was curious. She walked to the wardrobe and opened it. She saw a mirror, a robe, a hat, and a broom. The mirror was cracked and dirty. The robe was black and red. The hat was pointed and wide. The broom was wooden and old. She saw herself in the mirror, wearing the robe and the hat, holding the broom. She saw her grandmother in the mirror, smiling and laughing.